by the defense. 40, 30, they won't catch him. Go, Swift, into the end zone. Touchdown!
The Dogs win their first championship since 2005.
Man, it just feels great to be a Georgia Bulldog.
Number 3 Georgia is heading to Pasadena, California.
We're using every resource we have to make sure they take advantage of this opportunity.
The calm before the storm in Athens. You are looking at the intersection of Broad Street and College Avenue, where they want to party like it's 1980. It is almost time to find out if they will. Welcome to Road to the Championship. I'm John Hart. Coming up in the next 30, we're going to take you to Pasadena, where our team is standing by as your team prepares for the Rose Bowl game. We'll also go back to the future as former Bulldogs enjoy the current team's ride. And all dogs go to heaven, but only one is going to the college football playoff. We will take you behind the scenes as Uga prepared for the biggest trip of his life. The Dogs arrived in Pasadena the day after Christmas. Couple of chances to relax this week before they got down to work. A trip to the legendary Improv Comedy Club, also the traditional Rose Bowl team meal at the famed Lowry's Restaurant. And then there's this. Let's hope Nick Chubb enjoys his Rose Bowl more than he enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy ride at Disneyland. He's on the right, having none of it. But don't let the fun and games fool you. This is a business trip.
And we're all grateful to be in this opportunity that we're in, and just being able to represent the University of Georgia, our families and whatnot, playing in the Rose Bowls. It's a pretty awesome feeling, and it's pretty awesome just to be back here. You know, a lot of legends played before us, and not many have gotten a chance to actually play out here. So we're just thankful for the opportunity.
And with that, we bring in our team in Pasadena. Nathan Palm and Zach Hughes have been surveying the scene in SoCal.
Yes, John, we are in what has been noisy downtown Los Angeles. The game itself is actually going to be played in Pasadena, California, which is about 11 miles northeast of downtown Los Angeles. The media hotel is behind us. That's where a lot of the events leading up to the game are held in what is an incredibly exciting weekend for Dog fans.
Yeah, Jake Fromm has been talking this week about how much of a dream come true this season has been for him as a true freshman starting quarterback to lead the Dogs back to the Rose Bowl for the second time in program history, first in 75 years. And same for Georgia fans. It's been a dream come true type of season for them as well. And they said, as we were talking to them coming out here, it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. They needed to come out and see it for themselves.
Yeah, one man and his family were surprised by his wife. Flew the 9 of them out here to go to the Rose Bowl game as a Christmas gift. He said, excited to be out here. It is one of the most prestigious sporting events out there. John?
All right, Nathan, Zach, much more to come from Southern California as we continue. But of course, the last time Georgia played in the Rose Bowl, New Year's Day 1943, the Dogs and Heisman Trophy winner Frank Sinkwich shut out UCLA 9-0, claiming the 1942 national championship. We'll be taking a very special look back at that trip to Pasadena throughout the show. But first, my, how times have changed since then. In 1942, you could buy a car for $1,100. Gallon of gas for that car, just 19 cents. Loaf of bread, 9 cents. Milk, 60 cents a gallon. And you could own your own home for an average price of $6,950. All relative, though. In 1942, the average salary, just $2,400 a year. Coming up.
You know, it makes you really, really proud to be a Dog.
There's been a lot of excitement just thinking about how well we're doing.
They built the foundation. Watch this team's run for the Roses through the eyes of former Bulldogs. But first, a little trivia. What is a Sooner? Simple question, not so simple answer. While the train tracks that run along the outside of Sanford Stadium in Athens are iconic to Georgia football fans, it was a different set of tracks that carried the Bulldogs to their first national championship. In late December 1942, players, cheerleaders, fans, and coaches loaded up in train cars and made the 3-day cross-country journey. More than 2,200 miles later, number 2 Georgia arrived in Pasadena, set for its first ever Rose Bowl appearance against number 13 UCLA. So what is a Sooner? During the land rush to settle the Oklahoma Territory in 1889, actual races were held to claim land. Those who started too soon were called, well, you get it. Originally a negative term, it later referred to those with great ambition and became the Oklahoma football team's nickname in 1908. A little history lesson there, and hey, speaking of history, they built the foundation upon which the current Georgia Bulldogs are succeeding. Former Bulldogs are watching this run for the Roses with a very unique perspective.
It's just an incredible experience.
Athens is just a special place.
Win or lose, I'm always proud to wear my G on my chest.
4 men representing nearly a half-century of Georgia football.
You're representing your state, and you know, it's hard to explain, but it's just a lot of pride.
Pat Collins, Rover, 1977 to 79, now runs his family's wholesale flower business. Phil Kelly, trainer on the 1980 national championship team, now runs a successful screen printing company. C.J. Bird, safety 2005 to 2008, now in marketing at Chick-fil-A. Rennie Curran, linebacker 2007 to 09, now a motivational speaker and author. Each former Bulldog watching the current team with pride.
Being able to still be connected to the Bulldog Nation and going out into the community as a speaker and with all the things that I do, you know, it makes you really, really proud to be a dog.
There's been a lot of excitement just thinking about how well we're doing, and not just this year, but preparing for the future as well.
While each of these former players experienced memorable moments during their time in Athens, none came as close to the ultimate goal as this current team.
And I just think that the coaches, you know, pushed them forward and they pushed each other.
Kirby, how he approaches practice and preparation, because I've been there, man. It's like when you're watching the practice, it's like life and death.
It's been a lot of just leadership on that team. I think it started last year when you talk about those guys who came back for their senior year.
And while each of these men has taken very different roads since leaving Athens, their message to this year's team is very much the same.
GATA, go Dogs.
We believe in you guys. We're proud of all the hard work that you put in this year, and we're excited to see the things that you guys are going to do.
You got an opportunity to win a national championship, something that no one has ever done since 1980. You may not understand like how big that is right now, but it's huge.
There's nothing better than being a Georgia Bulldog after a victory. Go Dogs.
Well, it probably won't surprise you that in the last half-century of Georgia football, the Bulldogs of the 1980s won a greater percentage of their games than any other decade. They won a national title and played for 2 others. Coming up.
Our thing is just, we know they're going to make plays. We just have to make sure we make more plays than them.
How do you solve a problem like Baker Mayfield? We're headed back to Pasadena to break down the matchup. But first, more trivia. What was the first bowl game UGA played in? I'll give you a hint. It was the year before that last Rose Bowl trip. The answer when Road to the Championship continues. The stars shine during the 1942 Georgia Bulldog trip to Pasadena. That's in addition to Heisman Trophy winner Frank Sinkwich and future college and pro football Hall of Famer Charlie Trippi. The Dogs stayed at the world-renowned Ambassador Hotel on Wilshire Boulevard, the site of 6 Academy Award ceremonies and more than a half-dozen presidential stays before the team arrived in December 1942. And the stars came out to welcome the team to California. Some of the biggest names, from Betty Grable to Bob Hope, all stopped in to wish the Bulldogs well. The iconic arch at the north entrance to the University of Georgia campus, the three pillars representing wisdom, justice, and moderation. Moderation going to be hard to come by downtown if they win this game. Built 160 years ago as a gate to keep cattle from grazing on the north campus lawn. What was Georgia's first bowl game? On New Year's Day, 1942, the Bulldogs traveled to Miami to face TCU in the Orange Bowl. Future Heisman Trophy winner Frank Sinkwich, playing with a broken jaw, threw for 243 yards and 3 scores and ran for 139 and another touchdown in a 40-26 win that set the table for next season's run to the Rose Bowl. On December 10th, Oklahoma quarterback Baker Mayfield was awarded this year's Heisman Trophy. During his acceptance speech, he told his teammates they have 2 games left. Of course, the only way that can happen is if they beat Georgia. Mayfield, limited in practice this week due to illness, but the numbers speak for themselves. Second in the nation in passing yards, leading a Sooner offense that scores more per game than anybody else. On the flip side, though, you have that Georgia defense that allows the second fewest passing yards per game. Challenge accepted.
Baker, he's an explosive player. He gets outside the pocket and makes plays. I think he has the most touchdowns thrown outside the pocket. So we just have to make sure we do our jobs and stay patient.
And it's just going to come down to us in the secondary, really just staying with our guys and not letting balls get over the top of our heads.
And time to rejoin our team in Pasadena. Nathan Palm, Zach Hughes, and fellas, on paper at least, this seems a lot like the irresistible force versus the immovable object.
Yeah, John, it's talked about this matchup, that is, for good reason. Strength versus strength. You've got Baker Mayfield's Oklahoma team, the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, averaging 45 points per game, almost 600 yards of offense. But then you've got a Georgia defense that ranks in the top 5 nationally in almost every category. However, and I think the key part is that Georgia's defense is second best in allowing the least amount of passing yards. So that's huge going against the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. But we also think strength versus strength, there's a lot of focus on that. The other side of the matchup, Zach, might be the one that actually decides the game.
If Oklahoma is going to consistently stop Georgia's rushing attack of Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, Elijah Holyfield, they're going to have to put somebody else down in the box. They'll have to. And if they're going to do that, that's going to open up Jake Fromm's opportunities to hit shots downfield. And he's done that all season to put Georgia in this position. He's hit those shots when he's had those chances. If he can do that, that's going to bode well, because that's the only way Oklahoma is going to be able to stop the run.
And in terms of Georgia's offense, if they run the football effectively, that keeps Baker Mayfield off the field as well. I think that's going to be one of the keys to the game. But we aren't going to reveal our predictions quite yet. That's coming up a little bit later in the show. But those are some of our keys to the game. Remember, watch that Georgia rushing attack, and if Jake Fromm can take advantage of those few opportunities against Oklahoma's defense.
All right, Nathan and Zach, and we will check back in with you guys in a matter of minutes as we make our all-important game picks. 3 things to watch again on New Year's night. Georgia's 6th-ranked rushing attack, more than 260 yards per game. Oklahoma ranks just 53rd against the run. Advantage Georgia there. Unfortunately for Dog fans, Oklahoma boasts the #1 total offense and 2nd most passing yards per game. Good news is Georgia ranks 2nd in the nation in passing yards, as Nathan mentioned. And if it all comes down to special teams, as it so often does, the Dogs with a decided advantage, ranking 49th in special teams efficiency. Oklahoma 117th. Still ahead.
Long bus ride, hour and a half after driving from Savannah. That's 4 hours. Probably 5 hours, 5.5 in the air.
He is used to the national stage, but UGA is about to take center stage in the college football playoff. And another trivia question. UGA has roamed the sidelines for Georgia since 1956, but what year did the first K9 mascot debut for the Bulldogs? The 1942 Georgia defense remains as one of the best in Bulldog history. Heading into the Rose Bowl, Georgia had given up a mere 77 points through 11 games, and the D would prove itself one more time. With the score knotted at 0 in the fourth, Red Boyd blocked a UCLA punt, sending the ball through the back of the end zone for safety. After Georgia's fourth interception of the game, Heisman Trophy winner Frank Sinkwich scored the game's only touchdown from a yard out. The Dogs shut out the Bruins, claiming the school's first national title with a 9-0 victory. Beautiful Hurdy Field in the heart of UGA's North Campus, the first home of Bulldog football and baseball from 1891 until 1911, also plays a key role in the answer to our trivia question. Georgia's first canine mascot? Not a bulldog, but a bull terrier named Trilby that roamed the sidelines at Hurdy Field during the 1894 season. To this day, Trilby is the only female to serve as UGA's mascot. After that, the team didn't have an official mascot again until 1944. Well, Ugga, of course, no stranger to the spotlight, a regular on national TV. He was the first live mascot to attend the Heisman Trophy presentation in 1982. Years later, Sports Illustrated named him the nation's #1 mascot, and soon after, he starred in the Clint Eastwood-directed Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. But as Greg Talbot explains, Ugga 10 is about to boldly go where no Ugga has gone before.
The famous Flatirons in Boulder, Colorado.
His grandfather flew to Denver. That's 4.5 hours.
This is the new Ugga 7. Oh, I love it. Staying hydrated over there.
His great-grandfather flew to Phoenix, played Arizona State.
At the Seiler household, the legendary Georgia family is getting ready for vacation. But for the youngest member of the family, it's the biggest trip of his life.
Air travel is great. He's actually flown to Tennessee a couple of times, probably did Ole Miss maybe once or twice, so he's flown before. Difference is for this trip to Pasadena, long bus ride, hour and a half, after driving from Savannah, that's 4 hours, probably 5 hours, 5.5 in the air.
This isn't an ordinary game day trip in his ordinary vehicle. Show us how Ugga 10 travels.
Well, we've tried a number of vehicles over the years. Luckily, we hooked up with Athens Chevrolet, a guy named Greg Cole. He was great in helping us actually get GM to make this vehicle for us.
This time, Ugga 10's wheels up with the Dogs for Pasadena.
He's been in the cockpit before, you know, that kind of thing, and we try to facilitate all that. It would be best if he just crashed out and was very calm, but we never know until we get there.
Transporting this precious cargo isn't easy. He needs his uniforms just like the players.
And what I generally do is lay out his togs for the trip. We're wearing white out there, but I've also put out red. I'm kind of superstitious. Might have to go white, might have to go red, but I'll have both. So if we have a problem and we're not winning in the first half, I can always change him over to the other jersey.
Even though he's a movie star.
No matter what you and I ever do in our lives, Mr. Kelso, neither of us will ever be as famous as Ugga.
And he travels like a celebrity. In the end, he's still a dog.
He knows that on any bus that the team takes or any airplane, there's a bag of food in every seat. If it's a Five Guys hamburger, the burger comes in a bag, and then there's a separate bag for lettuce, tomatoes, and the rest of the stuff. Well, all of that crap hits the floor, and the guys only eat the hamburgers. Well, guess who knows that there's food under every seat?
It's a long trip, but Ugga 10 and the Seilers are up to the challenge because it runs in the family.
Other dogs of ours have made the long trip. It is what it is, but happy to be going, and I think I'd much rather fly than drive.
Ugga 10 ranks 4th all-time in winning percentage amongst the Uggas at 70%. Ugga 6 leads the way, winning 2 SEC titles and 2 Sugar Bowls from '99 to '08. Game picks are next, but first, final trivia question of the night. Which came first, the G on the Georgia helmet or the G on the Green Bay Packers helmet? Last time Georgia won college football's national championship, New Year's Day 1981, the Sugar Bowl win over Notre Dame. You can hear Munson saying they're carrying Vince Dooley off the field. Now immortalized with a statue on the southwest entrance to the campus.
So which came first, Georgia's G or Green Bay's G? The answer is Green Bay, sort of. In 1964, a new coach by the name of Vince Dooley had a new logo drawn up for the Bulldog helmets, but he thought it looked too much like the Packers logo that debuted 3 years earlier. A call was placed, permission was granted, and over the years, the Packers have adjusted their G to look more like Georgia's G, which is now trademarked.
And time now to make our picks. And for those of you who don't know, usually when I pick Georgia, it doesn't work out well for the Dogs. And if I pick against them, it goes great. So with that in mind, I'm going to say Baker Mayfield makes a play late to break Georgia's heart. 31-28, Oklahoma, go.
Well, John, we're a little bit more optimistic. Sorry, I jumped the gun there. As I talked about earlier, if Oklahoma is going to commit to stopping Georgia's rushing attack, Jake Fromm is going to have the opportunities to attack downfield. I think he does. I think Georgia wins 31-28.
I think it comes down to Georgia's ability to effectively run the ball, because that's going to sustain drives, lead to points, limit Baker Mayfield's opportunities. Obviously, turnovers are important. Each team is +5 in the turnover margin. I've got Georgia 34-30. I think they run the ball effectively, but if they fall behind early, that's not going to bode well. This team is not meant to come back, but we are a little bit more optimistic on the Dogs than you are, John.
Hey, I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong. Guys, looking forward to your coverage leading up to and through the game. Follow Zach and Nathan on social media for constant updates. Will the chapel bell be ringing on New Year's night? We will soon find out. Thank you for watching Road to the Championship. Stay tuned for our Clemson Sugar Bowl special. Happy New Year. Enjoy the Rose Bowl, everybody.